Yo, yo, yo. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Darry, and this is my amazing co host, Eddie. And this is the Weird Perspective. Thank you guys for joining us today. We are extremely excited to be bringing this podcast to you guys, man. It's been a long time coming. Been putting this thing together for like about 2 years, maybe a little bit over 2 years, but it's finally here. And I'm not super excited to be doing this with my guy, my best friend. This is man, he's like my blood brother, even though he's Puerto Rican and I'm black. But I'm excited, man. Uh my co-host, is my guy right here, man. My guy Eddie. What's up, bro?
What's up, baby? And awesome, man. Awesome to finally have this come to fruition, man. It's been a long time coming, man. But I think we have a lot to offer, man. I think transitioning our friendship. Well, we got like 17 years, right?
Yeah, about 18. About
Ooh,
18, bro, since
18.
2003, 2004, high school days.
Dang.
So yeah, yeah. We got a couple decades in the game, baby.
Oh,
But
awesome,
yeah,
man.
man, I'm super excited to be able to launch this off, man, and to be able to do with you is a blessing. So we got a lot of life experiences, very similar in a lot of things, but we do have some different takes and some different experiences. So we'll be able to bring a broad perspective, man, of what we're trying to get into. And so man, before we dive into any topics and talk of why we're here, I want to get into this podcast and why we doing this podcast first and foremost. We're not doing this podcast just to be two dudes blabbering. That's
Exactly.
not why we're here. We are here because we want to talk about these things and we want to bring a biblical perspective, right? Everything that's going on in the world, we can see in the Word. We can find it in the Bible. And so we want to talk about them because we're just regular average Joes, right? But there are people who look up to us. There are people who come to us for advice. We are plugged into our churches that we go to. And so we want to be able to just enlighten the world and give them this weird perspective. It's not weird in the sense where it's actual weird, but it's weird because the world doesn't respect the Bible. They look at it and they look at it as weird. And so that's where the word weird perspective comes from. And so we're just here to give you guys the weird perspective based on our experience, based on the knowledge that we have. And we want to be able to share the gospel through that. And
And
so we're not here to slander anybody. We're not here to bash anybody. We're not here to belittle anybody. We want to encourage people and enlighten people. And we want to help people who are curious, people who are on the fence about Christianity, people who are like standing back looking, or people who might even be coming against Christianity. We got smoke for y'all too. So we just want to be able to talk about these things. And we want to bring, a biblical perspective, man. And so um yeah, I mean that's really why we here, baby. What you got to say on that?
yeah, man. I definitely. I think we have a lot to offer, man. I think, um, like we said, we got our friendship, man. It's been what 18 years, man. I mean, we have not only the biblical perspective now, kind of fast forwarding to our friendship being converted, obviously, and being devoted Christians following Christ, but we have the perspective and the experiences that we had prior. Our teenage years, being able to share and go through high school together. And I mean, we knew each other before we even knew anything about Christianity or religion. So, I mean, we have both sides, and I think we have a lot to offer. I think a lot of people are going to be kind of blessed, man, by, and it's all glory to God. I think God set us up, man. I think God set us up,
Definitely,
for
definitely.
real. I'm not even gonna lie, man. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Um, and this is, I think, this podcast also is going to be kind of just a reflection of literally our everyday talks for the last 18 years. I mean, our wives have been on us, man. Like we'd be on the phone 2 hours, and it's like, "Damn,
Yeah.
well, didn't you just talk to him yesterday?" And it's like, "Today's a whole new day, baby."
Yeah. Yeah.
And hours just go by, man, and we're touching on all these topics. I mean, we've been doing this for so long, so it's just another day for us, really.
Yeah. 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 And so again, we don't want to just be we're not just gonna be coming at like attacking like the world, right? God's gonna
Right.
judge the world. But we
Yeah.
want to talk to Christians or people who are curious about becoming Christian, people who have questions for Christians. And so that is who this podcast is for. It is for the Christian. It is for the person who identifies as being a Christian. It's for the
Yeah.
person that is curious about the things in the Bible and based on whatever topic that we're talking about that day, whether it's politics, whether it's other religions, whether it's racism, drugs, murder, whatever it is.
Sports.
We're gonna bring
Yeah.
you guys sports, right? We're gonna bring you guys a biblical perspective. So um continue to rock with us, man. And
Yeah.
so today this is our first episode, man. So just to give you guys a little breakdown of who I am, my name is Darry Cooks, born and raised Chicago, Illinois. Um, Single parent home, raised by my mom and my late sister, who's 6 years older than me. And man, we grew up in Logan Square and seen a lot of things, did a lot of things. Don't need to get into any details of all of that madness, but um, my mom did have me in church early, making me learn scriptures, making me memorize them. Right, so I was at church, man, 2, 3 times a week, talking about Bible study, regular service. Sunday service had 2 services. Right, my mom was in a choir. She was an usher. She was a Sunday school teacher. So my mom was heavy plugged into the church. And so I knew about the church at a young age. I grew up in the church, but I didn't have a relationship with Jesus. Like a lot of us, like we go to church, but we don't really learn how to have a relationship with Jesus until we really start to get into his word for ourselves. And so for me, it was just a forced thing. I just went because my mom told me to go. That's what it was. It was the norm in my household. And so in my later teens, I rebelled, did my own thing. High school years, was not a Christian at all. I
A
never
whole other
denounced.
segment right there. It's a whole
Uh,
nother segment.
that's a whole nother thing. But I didn't never denounce Christ like with my mouth, like I'm not a Christian. But by my actions, I clearly was not a Christian. Right. I didn't read the Bible at home. I don't even think. Well, my mom had Bibles, but I didn't have a personal one. And yeah, and so get into adult years. My man's right here invited me to this play that he was in at his church. At the time, I was living in Ohio, and uh, man, the play was called Eternity, I believe.
Hmm.
And man, went and literally scared the hell out of me. Every scene in that play was my life being played out on that stage. I had done or had been doing, um, maybe even the day before, those scenes that were being played out, and seeing those people die and literally go to hell. It literally rocked me. And so, at that play, gave my life to Jesus, and been rocking with him ever since, man. And moved
Amen.
back to Chicago, got plugged into a church, and I've been growing and walking with Jesus for a little over 10 years now.
Amen.
I'm married, got 5 kids, currently live back in Chicago. And so uh, I'm a deacon at my church. I serve, I teach Bible studies, do those type of things. And so, yeah, plugged in like that. And that's me. That's who I am. So
Awesome. How long y'all been married too, man? Throw that in.
going, oh yeah, don't want to overlook the marriage. Going over 10 years, almost 10
Woo!
years. And May 5th to be 10 years
But
married.
how long you guys been together though?
Been together, going September
Woo!
of this year will be 19 years.
Dude, that's man, that's more than half our life, bro.
I know, bro. Been together.
That's
She was 15. I was 16 or going on 16 when we got together.
that's awesome, man.
And
That's
like a lot of ups and
that's a standing
downs.
ovation right there in itself, man. Let's
I
Let me
mean,
some claps
in
for
this
that.
climate that we live in, man, we definitely went through our ups and downs. We had our shares of battles, and but by the glory of God, man, we're still together. Family still
Amen.
intact, man. I got all my 5 kids with one woman.
Amen.
So that's just a blessing right there. I gotta deal with that baby mama drama. You know what
Damn,
I'm
dude.
saying?
That's a blessing, man. That's awesome.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to add that because that's it's needed, man. Sometimes I think being that I love marriage and everything that's new relationship. Um, we don't praise it enough. I mean, in a sense, in a humble way. We don't esteem it. We don't we don't put it on the pedestal that it belongs on because
Dude, there's no celebration for
right for marriage,
men
right?
and women marriage, right? There's a celebration for
Yeah,
LGBTQ.
this is a God ordained thing. So um, I just wanted to make sure it came out your mouth because it's important to me, but more importantly, it's important to God.
Yeah,
The Hebrews 13:4 says that marriage should be honored among all.
yeah.
That's overlooked. That's overlooked. So
It's
that could
definitely
be a whole
overlooked in our
nother like
culture.
you're gonna keep me you'll keep me all day on that topic. But
Oh yeah, yeah.
nevertheless, man, nevertheless, um, my name is Edwin Rodriguez, aka Eddie. My family and friends call me Eddie. Um, Same, born and raised here in Chicago. I was born and raised for the most part of my life in Humble Park, and then my late teenage years moved out of Humble Park and kind of grew up more on the west and northwest sides of Chicago. Um, like Darry, we went both to the same high school. That's where we met, and that's where our friendship kind of grew ever since. We met what like in freshman year, right?
Yeah, freshman year we met. We
Yeah.
played. We met at I believe it was Saturday school or night school. Like it's when we started really kicking it. We met in algebra class, but
Oh
we
yeah,
we
yeah, yeah,
really
yeah,
didn't start kicking it like that until I think it was either night school or Saturday school. I forgot which one we were in.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, nevertheless, that's where me and Derry met. Um, I myself, as well, I was a professing Christian. I grew up more on the religious side of things, where I would still go to church, but none of my life didn't reflect anything. I wasn't living out the Bible, so to speak. So I had a religious experience, so to speak. I grew up Seventh Day Adventist, so very religious, very Ten Commandments. You got to live by them um, and die by them. So I grew up with that religious experience. It wasn't until about 17 years old where my dad invited me to a men's conference at a non-denominational uh, Christian church, and um, that's where I for the first time professed and believed in my heart, as Romans 10:9 says, that where I accepted Christ and I started believing and walking as a Christian. And then fast forward, it literally was like God's calling my whole life. I feel like he's been tugging on my heart and always calling me to leadership or some type of discipling for the most part of my life, and I've been in it ever since. So, been a blessing to continue to serve and love and be in the Christian fellowship and be following Jesus. And yeah, me and Derry have been doing that ever since. We've been in ministry together, both in the four corners of the church and outside of the church. Um, we've been able to live it out and be a blessing not only to for each other but for other men and friends alike and family as well. So I myself as well. I met my wife in high school too, and we've been together 17 years. Um, I think it's 17 years. Don't quote me. I'm almost right. I think. Uh, and we've been married 10 years as well. So it's been a blessing. We got four beautiful kids. I love my wife um, uh, as much and more each and every day than the first time I met
Amen.
her. So
Amen.
that's me.
The love came.
Uh, it's all the love of God, man.
Yeah, yeah. Well, man, so that's just a little bit about us and then our background so you guys can know who you guys are listening to and what we're about, man. And so we're gonna dive into uh our topic of what we want to discuss this evening. But before we do that, man, did you watch anything NBA this week? Did you watch
The
Nets
Nets, yeah, the
that
Nets.
Nets
Oh my
Sixer
gosh,
game?
dude, that was terrible,
What
man. That was that their opportunity, man. It sucked. It
the
sucked to
opportunity
see
for
what
who? Opportunity for
for
who?
Philadelphia to kind of show themselves, but They just stunk it up, dude. Like Harden was a no. Like he might as well stood at home somewhere, dude. Like it was terrible,
How they gonna disrespect Allen Iverson? Allen Iverson came to that game and was
dude. Man,
courtside,
front
bro.
row, like
And they just James Harden, bro. But this is his MO.
yeah,
He always he doesn't show up in big games.
yeah,
In big games, he does not show up. And this ain't even a playoff game, but
yeah,
this was a preview, and he literally stunk up. He passed Reggie Miller though for the third all time, whatever. He
yeah,
passed Reggie Miller with some record, but he just did not show up, man. It was pretty sad. They got spanked, man.
yeah.
Um,
It was good to see the Nets, though. I mean, finally, all come together. They've been waiting forever to have like, a healthy roster and a healthy lineup. CKD, Kyrie, all these dudes out there.
yeah.
It's gonna be interesting, man. It's definitely playoff time come around. They're gonna be in the mix, and I'm looking forward to seeing how far they go because they're I know they're up there as far as favorites. Um, and
What I mean, this whole that was my pick. But ever since this vaccination stuff happened, I was like, I don't know if this dude's not being able to play. If they
yeah,
play Toronto in the first round, he can't play none of the games,
yeah.
the home games or the away games.
Well,
So
we're
he literally
praying. We're
gonna
praying
miss.
on that right now. We're praying on that. So we're gonna pray on that.
We
See
gonna
if
see what happens. Hey, pray for the people
gotta
out
just
there in
make some
Canada, man.
breakthrough.
Canada been going through it up there. We got a friend, some older couple that are mentors of ours that they're from Canada. They got family out there and they're going through it. So
Yeah,
keep Canada up in y'all prayers. But
definitely.
good news for you though. Baseball is back.
Let's
They came
go.
up with a deal. I really don't know all the details. I'm gonna let you talk about it because I really don't know. I just know that they were going through it for a while. It didn't look
Yeah,
good, but all of a sudden now baseball is back and they're gonna be ready to go for a spring break or whatever. I mean,
yeah.
spring training.
Big training. Yeah. Well, I mean, on that front, it's the collective bargaining agreement in which the players and the teams kind of have to negotiate profits and all these different things and new contracts and the minimums and the unions are trying to fight. The players' unions are trying to fight for more money for players, like in the minor leagues. They raised their minimum earnings, their salaries, as well as the major leagues. Just different those different things that are common to all these unions and different, like we see like CPS and CTU, right? The teachers fighting with the actual Chicago public schools, things like that. It's a similar
Yeah.
layout. It's pretty common, but nevertheless, I didn't even expect them to come to an agreement this soon. But thank God we get to watch some baseball, and it's already starting in April. So I'm
Yeah,
looking
that's
forward
good
to that.
for you. I don't watch baseball. I follow it a little bit, but I
Yeah,
don't watch it. It's like they need to come up with some new tactics to speed up the game. I fall
yeah,
asleep
yeah,
watching baseball.
yeah.
Um,
Love
but
baseball.
yeah, happy. But I mean, I see me got the Sox hat on.
Almost.
Eddie is a Cubs fan. Um, I root for the Cubs, right? So here's real quick. Here's my love hate relationship with the Cubs, right? I root for them to win. I
Yeah.
just majority of their fans, not all, majority of their fans
Don't
are
say it,
crazy. They're crazy.
man.
Majority of their fans are crazy. I've had
No,
enough run-ins with Cubs fans. We went to Lakeview High School, which is like 4 blocks, 5 blocks away from Wrigleyville, and it was insane. And so that's all I'm gonna say on the Cubs and the Cubs fans. I hope they have a good season. But y'all see me
you know
with my
what?
White
I'm
Sox
not.
hat.
I'm not so much a hater as I was growing up. I think once you get grown, man, you kind of like you got to put all that stuff to rest.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a natural like I love the Cubs and I'm a diehard, but I love both teams. I want them both to succeed at this point. So Chicago need Jesus, man.
Yeah,
That.
I'm anytime Chicago play anybody, I'm rocking with Chicago. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't even watch hockey, but I'd be like, go Blackhawks. You know what I'm saying? It's just the
But
Chicago in me.
it's a different experience for me too, though. My grandmother lived down the street from Wrigley Field,
Yeah,
literally a block or two off of Seminary and Byron. So like the '90s with Sammy Sosa and that chaos. And I mean chaos in the good way. Like it was just they ran in their prime, and I was
City was
amazed. Yeah,
City was on
yeah,
fire.
yeah.
City was on fire.
Chicago,
I
and
mean, I lived in Logan Square, so everybody named my was over there was Cubs fans.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And
So
the culture is really it's generational. They pass down their generational fans. You know, it's just kind of a reoccurring thing. They do a good job of that. That culture of Cub fans is awesome. So I think that once you have that experience, it kind of never really leaves you. It's an awesome experience.
yeah,
But
yeah,
nevertheless,
yeah. I don't know how many Cubs or White Sox games I'm gonna get to with these gas prices, right?
straight
And
up.
that's it. What these gas prices are crazy. I never seen these gas prices this high. But I will say, man, I was looking up some stuff and I came to find out since the year 2000, literally the gas prices go up under every president.
Mm,
So from Bill Clinton to George W. Bush to Obama, even Trump. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the gas prices went up under your boy Trump.
yeah.
And now under Biden, I know this
You know what?
war,
They went up and then down. So
they went up, but they always go up. Every
yeah, yeah.
president since 2000, they always go up, and then they kind of balance them out or whatever get doing. But I think with this war is really like sending things to a whole nother level.
Yeah.
So man, let's pray for the people over there in Russia and in Ukraine, man. And we over here peacefully doing this podcast right now, but there's people over there that got bombs literally going off next to their houses, and
Yeah.
they heard that Russia turning guns on civilians now. So
Listen,
man,
yeah,
bro, just
listen.
it's
After negotiating that they wouldn't, and they would allow their civilians to cross peacefully and kind of migrate. After negotiating and literally in their face are saying one thing and their soldiers are doing another. They're literally turning guns on innocent families, and that breaks my heart, man.
man,
That is so heartbreaking to see evil at a high level. I know that there's more to it, and we might be able to get into that in another segment. But um, to see it's kind of like just common. What would you call that? I guess on a global level, see negotiations, right? You call yourself professional. Presidents and people in governing places are literally turning on, like they're showing no morals, you know.
yeah,
And that breaks my heart, man. It really does.
yeah. And it's sin, women and children, man, and men that aren't armed, bro, are being killed, man. It's heartbreaking, man. So yeah, we send our prayers over there to the Ukraine and even the soldiers and stuff like that, praying for these people to get home. I pray for both sides, not just the Ukraine. I pray for the Russians too, because
Right,
they're being obedient. They're falling under under their leadership, right?
right,
Their president over there, and he's like, "Yo, go over there and take that land," and they're submitting and doing what their leader is telling them to do. And so, man, it's it's rough, but hope this gets cleared up soon. I hope we don't go into a World War III and things don't get worse. But you never know. But God is sovereign; He knows what's going on.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and so, speaking of unity, right, and war and all that other stuff. On the other hand, that's what we're here to talk about tonight. That's what we want to talk to you guys about, and it's restoring unity. Restoring unity. There has been so much division here in America, in an American church, over so many things. It's a whole list. I literally wrote a whole list of things that we are divided over in today. And so we want to talk about restoring unity. And but before we can re- understand, like, how do we come up with a solution for it, we need to understand the why. Like, why is these things happening? Why is this going on? And I can easily give you guys a biblical, like a real cliche, like the devil, the
Yeah,
enemy is
yeah,
moving. I can give you one of them real churchy
yeah.
answers, but
Evil.
ooh, evil. People's hearts are wicked.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You can easily do that. But we want to take some time and really just ask that question: why is the American church so divided? I'm only speaking about America. I'm not speaking on anywhere else because I don't know everything about what's going on everywhere else. But here, everything is on full display. If you got a phone, you know what's going on.
Right.
I probably can make that a song that kind of rhymes. If you got a phone, you know what's going on. But man, we're so divided here in America. We're
Yeah.
so divided here. And the things I came up with, right? And I had a long list, but the three things that the last couple years that really have stood out to me of why people are so divided, these are the things, right? You got number one, it all falls under the category of politics. It's a lot of politics, right? Politics is being spilled over literally into everything,
Yeah.
from sports to the church, to medicine and science. Politics is literally in everything now. And so with that, you got race, racism, race wars. Excuse me. It's running rampant, right? Racism. Number two, talking about religious freedoms and liberties, the attack on it. The church is literally divided over, are they coming to take our religious freedoms? Are they not? What's going on? It's a big
Yeah.
divide over that. And then the number one thing that's happened the last 2 years is vaccines. It is literally people are on site with it. Like they want all the smoke when it comes to the vaccine stuff. You either for vax, you got the, people just coming out the woodworks with all type of crazy stuff, man. Wear your mask, get vaxxed. If you're not a real Christian. On the other hand, you know, Jesus, this and this, and they're just, bro, they're just mixing it all up. It's crazy, crazy, crazy. Um, bro, what do you got? What do you think on this on unity, restoring
Yeah, man.
unity?
You're right, dude. You're right. I mean, I think it starts with the whole cliche is that we have we live in the land of the free, um, and we're free to do as we please, and um, but our nation was founded on Christian or anti slavery principles that fell in line with biblical principles, um, and and to kind of move forward, we found it on in God we trust, and I think that trust has been literally, um, how would you say, diluted to the point where it proves Proverbs 3:5, where it says, "Do not fall on your own understanding." Right? It says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and don't fall on your own understanding." I think we're living in a time where we're literally falling on our own understanding. We're not allowing biblical truth to kind of uh, prove itself or allow the Bible to interpret itself. We're literally interpreting our own truth, and we're kind of
Yeah,
like allowing that to play out. Um, and as a nation, I think that that cliche thing like YOLO or you only live once and be free and the land of the
hmm
free, those different things that are put out there and people have kind of grab a hold of, you can control your own destiny. If we haven't gotten rocked enough these last few years to really slow us down and isolate ourselves in our homes and really determine who we serve, really determine if there is a real God. If you have to question that the last few years, I mean, it really shows where we're at as a country and what's kind of contributed to these things. I mean, I think the heart behind that too, man, is and I think the reason why this topic kind of came up in my heart is because the last few years, this topic of unity, man. I mean, we literally seen this pandemic really destroy and um, like further divide family, friends. I mean, you name it, even companies and I mean everything
listen,
under
man.
the sun.
I know one couple personally,
Yeah,
but there was another couple, two couples that got divorced over the vote over the election.
yeah,
That is how
that's ridiculous.
crazy it's been.
Yeah,
These aren't like first year couples, right? These are couples that's been together.
forever.
One couple had been together, I think, 12 years, bro. And because one she voted. I don't know if it was he or she, I forget, but they voted for Trump, and the other one was like, "Are you voted for Trump? Divorce."
Oh my
And it
god.
was like, "Wait, what?" And I thought it was a joke at first, like, "Nah, y'all being silly." It was real, and I was like, "Y'all got divorced over
Yeah.
politics." Like, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation that we can have as far as when you talk about marriage and people need to be having real conversations in their marriage. But it just shows that how people are divided on all fronts. And the
Yeah.
Bible talks about that, man. It says that there's gonna be a time. I mean,
Mm.
mother against daughter, you know what I'm saying? Father against son, brother
Yeah.
against brother. Like it's literally happening right in front of our eyes. And it's
Uh,
over things that aren't non-essentials, right? And it's not like you guys are bickering over whether Jesus is coming back or whether he died and he rose or anything like that. They're bickering over things that don't matter. Things that they could like, okay, well, if you think that way, that's cool. You think that way, but I think this way, and then let's agree to disagree. Let's shake hands and let's keep continue to live. But it's not, man. It's going down the hill, and so yeah, it's pretty bad.
yeah. Yeah. And to that, I think, man, we've seen, like you mentioned marriages, and if I can just had a side note on that one, um, that's why I encourage young couples, right, or couples that are looking to get married, to honestly ask the questions. And I think we had mentioned this before. We had a side conversation one day about this. I no longer think that marriages should take like pre-marriage counseling or go to some type of pre-marriage counseling of some sort as an option or if necessary. I literally think it's a requirement now because we've seen this play out. And if we're talking about couples, like you said, they've been together years down the road. And it's because they never really asked those questions to begin with. You know, what are my stances? What do I believe in? Do you
Hmm.
actually believe in a God? You know, like who do you serve? And one of the encouragements and what I'm always giving advice is the two main decisions you'll make as a couple is who you're going to serve and who you're going to marry. Those are, and that's for all of us. Who you're going to serve, who you're going to marry. If we had that understanding and take those steps, um, and took advice to be able to do that and take those steps, I mean, I think we'll be better off as far as couples. On another front, to kind of move further past that, man, we've seen families divided. Families are already broken, and I can talk from personal experience, man. Like my family, dude. Like I don't mean to put my business out there, but if we're gonna keep it 100, right? Um,
Yeah,
both sides of my family, like there is. I mean, there's times where we don't see each other for, and this is pre pandemic, for months. But the pandemic hit, it was like, dude, 2 years passed by. I still haven't seen my family. Like
yeah,
there's something wrong there. And I think it's a call for all of us to kind of look within us and truly have an encouragement to come back to unity and be encouraged to unite. Um, even with with our brothers and sisters in the church. This is not only, obviously it's a perspective from a biblical standpoint for the church, but it's overall, man. Families and people got to unite, man. People got to get back. Um, you put the differences aside, love each other. Um, that's literally love is one of my principles, man, that I live by. And how do we define love, right? We can go to 1 Corinthians 13 and see how it defines love in the Bible. Um, I don't know if you want to go ahead and read that. That way it's defined, not for the sake of us just blabbering on,
I
but
got. I got you right. I got you right now, man. I'm gonna pull out the big boy. We got the big boy. We read from the Bible on this podcast, so y'all know. Well, the people who listening to this through the audio, they can't see me, but for the YouTubers,
yeah,
y'all see the big boy right here.
yeah.
So, what you want me to read? I definitely don't mind reading that at all. Let me just get to the page.
Actually, you want me to read it? I got it.
You got it up?
Yeah, I got it.
I'll go ahead.
This is 1 Corinthians 13:4. So it defines love according to God. And it says, love is patient, Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. Is not proudful. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking and is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Um, Love does not delight in evil or rejoices with the truth. Um, and it always protects, always trusts, and always hopes, and always perseveres. So if we just use that definition, right, that principle of love according to the Bible and God, um, I think we're better off. And obviously, it's easier said than done. I think there's a few other characteristics that have to kind of come along with that. But I think Philippians 2:4. I don't know if you want to go ahead and just jump to that. You have that up.
I could get it. I'm gonna just use the Bible app because it's faster.
Cool.
Well, what did you say?
Uh,
Philippians.
no, my apologies. 2 Corinthians 13:11.
Got you. You want me to read it?
Yeah.
Got you. So I'm gonna be reading out of the CSB translation, and it says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, become mature, be encouraged, be on the same mind, be at peace, and the God of love." I'm sorry, I'll move this phone up. And the God of love and peace will be with you.
Amen. I'll read the NIV. It says, "Finally, brothers and sisters, rejoice, strive for full restoration, encourage one another, be of one mind, live in peace, and God, the God of love and peace, will be with you." Um, but yeah, man, just defining love and then also seeing the encouragement that Paul gave the New Testament church. Um, and for us as Christians, this is something that we have to play. We have to be at the forefront. We have to be at the front of the line and showing others. What does that look like? I mean, for me personally, um, just kind of thinking about this topic, going through the word, it means literally showing them how to strive for full restoration, right? To strive and be encouraged with one another, be of one mind, live in peace. And that means, man, family members, man, that we just maybe there's not even any animosity or any situations that kind of divided or is putting that distance between us. But being encouraged just to take the first step, right? Get out there and love on them
Hmm.
and showing them, right? Setting the example. I think that's what Christ called us to do anyway. Live out the example so we can be the light of the world.
Yeah.
Um, so
So slow down. I want to take a step back real quick.
yeah.
Why do you think this number one, there is a need for us to restore unity? Where did it get broken? What happened? In whatever area you want to talk about it, whether it was in, the American church or in marriage, whichever area you want to cover. But what is your take on that?
Oh, so I think that was my reason for mentioning Proverbs 3:5 was to put our trust fully in God and not lean on our own understanding. I think we stop trusting God. I think it's a lack of faith and trust in a God that is real. And I think people kind of fell in love with the idea of God, right? Like the agnostic approach, an idea somewhere out there. There's love and there's a God out there.
Right, right.
Um, but I think that's kind of where it started, not trusting God. I mean, we can always go back and thinking of it in the bigger picture, right? What caused division to begin with was sin and evil. Back at the garden, right, with Adam and Eve. Um, and whether or not, right, causing Eve to trust in what God commanded them to do, which was not to eat of the tree of good and evil. And I think there was a lack of trust and that power play of wanting to feel that power, right, being deceived to be in her own destiny and control her own destiny. And I think those two things, right, the lack of trust and faith in God and what He said, which comes back to God's word, and then living that out. So I think those are two. I mean, we can go obviously to the root of it, sin and evil that literally caused division to begin with, and then how it plays out. Fast forward to nowadays, it's just lacking the biblical definition of God's love and trusting in a God that is real.
Yeah, yeah. All definitely good points that I agree with. Um, I wrote down these three things, which was just to bring everything up to the current events that are at hand, and I wrote down racism, liberty of freedoms, vaccines,
Mhm.
those type of things, because I think the number one reason why we gotten away from being united is because we lost mercy for one another,
Mm.
and that goes hand in hand with love. But we don't know how to have mercy for one another. We don't know how to show each other grace,
Yeah,
and I think that we don't know how to apply Romans 14 to our lives, and let people do with non-essentials. Let them do with it, as they please, and kind of let God have it. We live in a culture now where if you're not a Calvinist, you're not like the what's it the you're not the educational elite, right? Like if you ain't a Calvinist, you ain't read from the ESV translation.
yeah,
You got it all wrong. And we're gonna look. We turn our nose up at you. Like you got that going on in the church, right? Where
yeah,
people fighting over certain doctrines, and these things aren't important. But predestination arguments and all that stuff. Like we got into the point where people feel like because they have so much head knowledge, or they think that they know so much about the Bible, they have these degrees and their philosophies on it, and a lot of people agree with it. Then it's like,
yeah,
if the other people don't, even though these people are claiming to be Christians, then they're not the proper Christians, or they're not the right way to be Christians, right? And I think that it all comes down to what we talked about before in a older episode when we were chilling, and it's comes down to people having their personal agendas,
right.
right? And people and everybody has an agenda, but what is that agenda? Is it like a Christ-centered agenda,
Or is
or
it
is it like,
self-seeking? Is it self?
yeah, or is it self-seeking? Is it
Yeah,
just like, well, I believe that this is this, and then whoever doesn't agree with me, they're all wrong and they're all going to hell,
right.
right? And so
Which goes against the definition of love, which we just said in 1 Corinthians 13. It says that love is not self-seeking.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And so, but we see this going on, man. We see in literally documentaries being exposing these, some of these mega churches now. You got Hillsong and I forgot their pastor Carl Lentz. You got all these things coming to the surface because people literally have their own personal self-seeking agenda. They want to be the man, or they want to make their belief system above your belief system. You don't believe with them, then it all falling apart. And this is now being played over. It comes from the world, and now the world has infiltrated the church in the mindset and influencing us. And now we see everything running rapid.
yeah.
Everything is crazy, right? And then how can we influence the world if we're divided,
Mm.
right? The Bible talks about a house divided can't stand. It won't stand. It's gonna fall apart. And we're seeing the church like fall. The public is laughing at us because we can't get it together. All these denominations, all these other different things. It's like, yo, it's not even in the Bible, fam. Like, where you coming up with this stuff?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
we're arguing and we're bickering over small things.
yeah,
These are small, small things.
yeah,
And it's causing us to miss the bigger picture, right? Which is Jesus. And
yeah,
we're getting it wrong.
yeah. And how do we? I mean, I think that can kind of jump into that next thing, like you're mentioning the church and division within the church. The church is divided. How we expect to gain unity outside the church? You know what I mean? That's if we're not setting the example of a moral with a moral compass, or of the moral compass, I mean, how are we going to expect the world to hold those morals and have the unity that we're talking about? Um, and like you said, over small things, and I think when we get into those things, like having a difference of opinion, but also the Bible says that we should make every effort to be at peace with one another. Um, are we making every effort? You know, we put the effort out to be at peace. We share
Mm.
it, right? We put it out there. If others obviously have that issue of meeting you in the middle, then with respect and love, it does show their character. But we're setting the example. We're moving um, how God would have us move in love, and to be at that full restoration, as He said.
Yeah.
Um, Another scripture that kind of came up was Romans 13:8, and it says, "Owe nothing to anyone except for the obligation to love one another. If you love your neighbor, you will fulfill the requirement of God's love, or God's law, rather." Um, and it means the only debt that we should owe each other is to love one another.
Hmm.
And we think about that can be a whole segment within itself, man. If we had that, if we carried that depth of just loving people, loving others, loving our friends and family, it's easier said than done. I think that's the beauty of um, us as friends being able to come and share this on this podcast, because we have the perspective as well, right? Nothing's ever perfect. We haven't
Yeah.
been perfect as friends. We haven't
Yeah.
been. We had our ups and downs. We had our run-ins where we've confronted one another. We've taken time to think and not to talk for a time period. But we always strive. We made every effort to have that
Yeah.
restoration and that peace between us. And how does that look? We have to be willing to forgive. We have to take those steps and drop our pride, and justify ourselves.
Yeah.
Um, and
I, th- I
go
think
ahead.
in a practical sense, right? And just people don't like confrontation.
Yeah,
I think we're in a generation where this generation, they don't want no confrontation.
yeah,
They don't want to sit down and have a tough conversation, right? You see it in marriages, you see it in friendships, you see it in family. People do not want to confront conflict, and you especially see it in the church,
yeah,
especially in the church, man. And it's like you say, "Hey, I'm a Christian." Well, what comes with being a Christian, right? It's to be part of a community that's going to hold you accountable. It's going to disciple you. It's going to build you up, right? Encourage you, and even guess what? Call out your sin,
right,
right? When you're out here, you're doing some things that might not be as wise, right? Might not be making a wise decision. Might not necessarily be a sin, but it was like, hey, bro, I'm just trying to guard you. You know that people get so offended, and instead of having a conversation with you, they just like, well, forget you. I'm leaving the church, or they'll slander you, or this and that and third. And it's like, I don't even know why that person left the church or why that person's saying that. We never have a conversation about it. But we've seen that people do not want to have tough conversations.
yeah.
They just
And I
say they
think
want to
that's the
sit.
thing.
They want to say their piece, and then they want to get out. Yeah, blah 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 blah. I peace. And they
Yeah,
don't want to let you talk. Like I can't respond to that. It's like, nah, click. I'm hanging up, or I'm leaving your house, or wherever we having a meeting. Don't say nothing. And man, that's where we're at. That's
yeah,
where I'm literally, dealing with that stuff the last like couple weeks. But it's so crazy. It's so crazy. Then when you bring up scriptures to people, it's like, hey, well, we're called to love, and in that love, we're called to. I'm holding you accountable. I'm holding you to a standard, not that I made, but of the word. I'm showing you word. I'm not giving you Darry 3:16. Darry chapter 8 verse 4. I'm
yeah,
giving you what the word says, and then you're fighting me on it. And it's like, you're not disobeying me and my orders. This is what, thus says the Lord. And so I think a lot of those things, the practical side of all that is like people are afraid. They don't want to have those tough conversations. They don't want to. And I'll share this real quick. We watched this show. It's called My 600 Pound Life. And the doctor, his name's Doctor Now.
Hmm.
Doctor Now, he's a doctor. He's been a doctor for an extremely long time. I'm pretty sure it's like a few decades. He's about 70 some years old. He does the the weight loss, liposuction, and all that stuff for the people when they, to help them lose the weight.
Right.
And in this show, these people that he meets, he gives them a plan. He tells them, "Hey, you only can eat 1,200 calories. That's your diet, and you're gonna lose this much weight." He knows it. He got it down packed. He's been doing this for a long time. If you eat this many calories, right, limit yourself to this many calories, you're gonna lose this much weight. He gives them a date, like, come back here in 2 months. I want you to have lost 60 pounds. You should have lost 60 pounds in 2 months. They come back, right? During the whole time they're being filmed, so you see them eating all type of fatty foods. They're not taking the program serious, so then they take the walk of shame, right?
Oh my
But
God.
they're so deceived. They're so deceived. This is the really important part. They're so deceived that they get in there and he's like, "Yo, what happened? You only lost 5 pounds." Oh, well, I was really, this where the excuses start to pile. I was really trying. I was really, I really was trying to follow the diet. And I felt like I should have lost more weight. So
Yeah.
he's like, "Yeah, you should have lost more weight. You should have lost the 60 pounds based on this, calorie limit. You should have lost the weight. You should have lost the 60 pounds." And so they get into their whole thing. And then he's challenging them, right? And he's coming at them. He knows this already. And then they want to flip out. Ah, you disrespected me. They want to leave and get offended. And he's not raising his voice. Super soft spoken dude. He's not raising his voice. He's not belittling them. He's literally giving them truth. And they don't want truth. And they get offended. And then they just like, "I'm out of here." And he's telling them this, right? We put this in the biblical perspective. He's telling them this in love, right? Like Jesus tells us things in his word that are tough for us to take. Like, like even for us men, we're husbands. It's like, you gotta, sacrifice. Love Christ, love your wife as Christ loved the church. Like, wait, what? What that mean, Joe? And we gotta make sacrifices. So he's telling them the things that they need to hear. It's just tough for them to hear it. And they're just so much just pushback on it.
Yeah.
So much pushback. And we see that same type of thing getting played out in the church. And it causes division, cause unity to be broken when another person isn't operating in the right type of spirit, right? As the Bible tells us, we got to test those spirits, and they get offended, and then
Yeah.
boom, the unity is now broken.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right on with that, man. And that's not to say that the church um is not void of sympathizing or empathizing with these with individuals, and not only in the
Nobody
church.
loves perfect. I'll
Right.
just say that nobody loves
Exactly.
perfect. We're all growing in how we
Yeah.
love each
Yeah.
other and learning
Yeah.
how we receive love and how we give out love. We're all still
Yeah.
growing. Nobody's gonna do that perfect.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is a good point. I think living a life following Jesus, I think there has to be a continuous being vulnerable and transparent and willing to unlearn what we've been taught in order to trade that in and gain some truth for our life, man. So there is a sacrifice behind that. And I think that sacrifice has to be evident not only in the church, but man, with our very own family members and our loved ones, man. Um, which is the heart of it. I think just because of this pandemic, now that we see kind of fast forward, um, it coming to a close where we see some light at the end of the tunnel, or we're able to go out with no mask and go into these restaurants and enjoy each other again. People are afraid; they're being isolated. But this isolation, man, has really caused even more things, which kind of leads me to the next thing, which was we have to be willing to seek help. We have to be willing um, to find solutions for our conflicts. And how do we do that? We have to be willing to seek help. We have to go and find the truth for ourselves. And I feel like a lot of people have been so isolated, they have their own truth. Um, and we weren't taught conflict resolution. My heart is for marriage, and I think that's I always kind of use marriage as the example. Um, but look, man, I know you and I didn't grow up particularly with our dads around.
Right.
We didn't grow up with awesome marriages to kind of see in front of us, but nobody taught us how to conflict resolution. You know how to resolve conflict.
Yeah.
And now we're grown. Now we have no excuse. And yeah, we have the conscience. We're conscious of it, and we have to be willing to go seek that help, but also define what's truth. And I think the truth is found in Jesus, man. It's found in Jesus, and because He is hope, He is love, and not only that, He has grace for us, but He has enough grace and truth for us. He won't leave us the same. He always wants to change us from within, um, and He wants to make us the best version according to what His purpose for our life is. And that's the hope for everybody, man. I think that's the hope for those watching and for those listening on this topic of unity. There's a
Amen.
deeper thing in it. So um
Amen.
yeah.
And so I want to really quickly, well, not really quickly, we take whatever time we need to take, but I want to talk about the solution, right, to restoring unity. Not just in the American church, but in all churches everywhere. I think this is a practical principle that we have to practice, and I think there's so many things that comes from here. And I want to break this down, and I want to go into it. And it comes out of Acts 2:42. You know this verse. It's they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching, to fellowship, to the breaking of bread, and to prayer. And this is so important, especially for the three things that I mentioned, which was like the racism and the politics and all these vaccine things that are causing division, right? If you devote yourself to the apostles' teaching, which is ultimately to the Bible, right, to the Word, there is a learning, right? There is a maturing and growth, which Paul tells us that we ought to be doing. We should be
Yeah.
growing and we should be maturing in our faith. We should be examining ourselves daily to see if we're growing in the faith, right?
Yeah.
And that's where, devoting themselves to the apostles. That's what they did, right? They went under the apostles, the men and women who were more mature, and they learned, right? Um, and then to fellowship, right? Which is so key, which has been straight ruined thanks to COVID. But we have to get back to fellowship, like real fellowship. Like me and you, we know about some real fellowship, man. Like I used to, I
Yeah.
lived with you at one point in time, man, and we spent all night playing the game, just hanging out, chilling, right?
Making
And that
love.
was in a worldly sense, right? But
Yeah.
how much more of that, right, can we do, like in a church,
Yeah.
right? With amongst believers, we're called to do these things. We're called to fellowship, right? To get to know each other, and as far as you want to break racism, or you want to end racism, get some real fellowship in your life, right?
Yeah.
Hang around some people you don't know and learn about their background and their upbringing,
Yeah.
right? Go around some new cultures and eat some of their food,
Yeah.
right? Learn some words in their native tongue. You know what I'm saying? That's not yours, right? This is how racism is, bro. This is how this is practiced out,
Yeah.
right? And then breaking the bread. That's fellowship, but that's being with one another and meeting each other's needs,
Yeah.
right? That's meeting each other's needs. And so when I see my guy Eddie, and he's struggling with something, man, and I can help him, hey man, here you go, boom, what you need, right? Or if I know he needs it, he don't even gotta ask me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's serving each other,
Yeah.
serving one another, which is that's probably a whole nother podcast that we can do.
Yeah.
Serving one another, right? And then to prayer, more praying with each other.
Yeah.
We don't pray enough, bro. Like we don't call each other up and just be like, hey, man, let's pray right now. You know what I'm saying? Like we need to
Uh,
get back to that, like straight to the
uh,
basics of praying for each other. This is how we restore unity in the church. This is how we be the light amongst the dark.
yeah.
When the world starts to see us do this and we do it the right way, we're gonna start moving mountains. We'll
Yeah.
start snatching souls out the fire for real.
Yeah.
Because this is the basic foundation of what God built the church on,
Yeah.
right? Being dedicated to the word and living that out daily,
Yeah.
right? Fellowship, breaking bread, and prayer.
Yeah.
It's so crucial. It's so crucial. And COVID, it rocked us. It put us in our homes. And whatever side of the fence you're on with the COVID stuff, the point is that it had real effects to it. And now we have to relearn how to have real fellowship.
Yeah.
But people are still kind of like sketchy. Like
Yeah.
you might cough because you was drinking something, they go down the wrong hole. You start coughing, people looking at you like, all right, fam, all right, Joe, I'm gonna holler at you later.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because this person started coughing or you sneezed or something. It is like we gotta learn how to be around people again, man. It
Yeah.
is crazy. And so
That's back to that Second Corinthians, right? It says strive for full restoration.
yeah,
Yeah, well, I think we're at that point where, like you said, it's kind of like we're almost there, but let's strive for full restoration now. Let's get back to meeting. Let's get back to, man, calling brothers up and loving on each other. Um, I know that's literally that's my heart, man. Like I ain't never stopped. I love. Um, first of all, I'm a talker, so that's a whole nother topic. But I love to talk, and I love the interaction of being able to be on the phone with people. So I don't know if it's like a gift and a curse, but God gave it to me. So
yeah, yeah,
I love calling people and talking to people personally. But nevertheless, yeah, it encourages us to strive for full restoration. Um, I think the other thing too, man, we can get caught up in talking this. We have to live it out. And how do we live that out with people that may not even know Jesus, right? We might be talking a whole nother language right now, which I love. I love the title of the podcast because it gives the weird perspective, right? Because it's weird to the average person that don't know Jesus or may not have any encounter
mm-hmm,
with Christianity. And to that I might say, right? We don't take an iPhone to a Samsung store,
mm-hmm,
right? Come on now. Where did you come from? You know what I mean? There's a beginning and an end.
yeah,
So there is a maker who created us, and his name is God, right? Came down as Jesus and lived on earth for us and lived that example for us. So how do we get that understanding? We don't take an iPhone to a Samsung store. We take it to an iPhone store where they know the ins and outs of our makeup, of the phone, and it knows every detail of the system of how it works and how to repair it and bring it back to its original form and how it should work. And I think that's our job, not only as Christians, but to bring that hope to people, to know that there is a maker, um, God, that came as Jesus, right? And
mm-hmm,
then getting them to understand that our heart, because the cliche thing that the world likes to teach us is follow your heart. Well, in Jeremiah 17:9, it says that the heart is deceitful above all things and it is extremely sick. It says, who can understand it
mm,
and fully know it, know
mm,
its secret motives? So if we understand that there's a maker, right, we understand that within our own nature, our heart is deceitful. Now, where do we get that hope and where can we put our faith in? Well, Romans 10:9 says, if we profess it with our mouth, if we say it with our mouth that we believe in Jesus as Lord, and we believe in our heart that He rose again, then we will be saved. And this Christian
man.
walk, I know the church has done a good job. This Christian walk is a cliche thing. People look down on it, but we have just as much fun and even more fun as the world does.
Hey, we we
So
we be lit.
yeah, we
Not drunk, not drunk. I don't want y'all to
right, not
misinterpret what I'm
we
saying.
get
Not
lit,
drunk,
right, right.
not drunk, not
We have
high,
fun.
but we have fun.
Yeah, because you can think of if we have that mutual love and hope and encouraging of one another, right? There is no room for animosity or evil. And even
Yeah,
when we face those trials, right? Because Christians ain't perfect, right? We all fall short of
right,
faith.
right, right.
Christians not perfect. We learn to coincide with one another and also resolve conflict with one another. And it's all through love and grace and
Yeah,
God's truth. So This thing is, it goes deeper than that, and I don't want people to think that this is just a we talking Christianese and we're just throwing Bible out there. We live in life just as, just as normal people,
Yeah.
and the only difference is that we have a hope and we have a promise of eternity to go to heaven. That's the only difference between us and people with sin, and we repented of ours.
Yeah.
We surrendered to Christ as Lord. That's
Yep.
the only difference, man.
We're not perfect. We have sin. We continue to sin and make mistakes, but as we continue to mature and we continue to walk with Christ, we start to sin less,
Yeah,
right? We continue to mature in our understanding and our application of the
preach it.
word,
Yeah.
right? And so, man, yeah, you just brought the fire right now. So I don't even want to.
Mhm.
I don't even need to say anymore, bro. We should share the gospel with some
Oh God.
folks, and yeah, we just want share this about restoring unity. And if you take anything from this podcast, take this: go and reach out to somebody
Yeah.
that you haven't talked to.
Yeah.
Go and have that tough conversation, right? It might be your parent, it could be your dad that y'all had a falling out. It could be your brother, it could be a friend, best friend, sister, whoever it is. Reach out to them. Tell them you love them, right? It could even be a text message. Hey man, look, I'm just reaching out to tell you I love you, man. Call me, let's talk, let's go have a coffee,
Yeah.
right? But we should be striving to be unified,
Amen.
right? And that message is for all of the Christians. If you claim to be Christians, you should be striving to be united with your brothers and sisters.
Amen.
You want to learn more about that? Read the book of First John. Read the whole book, all 5 chapters. It's an amazing. He's writing to Christians,
Yep.
giving them the warning, telling them about love. Chapter 3 and 4 is all about love, God's love, and what that love does. And so, I mean, we could be on here preaching all night. Um, we got wives and kids that we got to go attend to. So
I
we
am.
don't want to take up too much of y'all time. But listen, we're gonna be doing this every week. Every week we're gonna be doing this podcast. It's going to be on YouTube for the visual folks, and then we're going to be on all platforms that have podcasts. So Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you get your podcast, we're going to be on there, right? If you're watching this on YouTube, the descriptions to those, the links to those will be in the descriptions. Listen, if you've been blessed, if you've been encouraged by this at all, like this podcast, share it with somebody who you know might need to know a little bit more about being united, right? Share this with your spouse, share it with your kids. Um, but we just want to be a voice that brings hope, that brings unity. We want to just bless you guys with what Jesus has blessed us with.
Yeah.
And so join us next week. Again, like, subscribe, download, all those things. We definitely um appreciate you guys' support. We agree with you guys rocking with us for I don't know how long because I can't see the timer. But thank y'all. Thank y'all. If you listen to this whole thing, we appreciate y'all, man. We love y'all. We might not know who you are that's watching this, but listen, we love y'all.
Yep.
And that's why we doing this because we love y'all, because we ain't making no money off this. You know what I'm saying?
Ah.
But man, we love y'all. And until next week, it's Darry, it's Eddie, and this is the Weird Perspective. We love y'all,
God
and
bless. Love
we
you
out.
guys. Yep.
Peace.